Well, hi, good morning, and thank you so much for joining me in my shop on November 8th today. So in the last video I tried operating this radio. I did not really get a good result at all from it, including even tapping the antenna and seeing if there was any crackling in the speaker. If there was, it was awfully minimal. So I think the next logical step with this particular radio is to go ahead and test the tubes. Now, in a lot of cases, I don't do that right off the bat. I leave that till actually towards, somewhere in the middle or towards the end of things. But with the radio not working at all, I really want to sort out what the problem is. There's a good chance it's just one of the tubes. So we're going to start with this big guy here. I'm guessing this is the output tube here. I'm going to be testing it on a Jackson tube tester, what I believe is an emissions tester, 6F6. Well, this could be the culprit right here. If he's not working well, then no sound's going to come from the speaker. Although generally, if it's just a little ill, you just get a lower volume. Okay, so here's my Jackson tester. So this is not a dynamic, I'll take that back. They're calling it a dynamic tester, but I think it's just an emissions tester. Okay. Pushing these buttons to release these buttons here. Now we're going to dial up 6F6. 6F6. In here, there's three. It's like three rolls here. 6F. Oops, we passed it. 6F6. Here it is. Here. 6F6. 6.3 volts. Upper row buttons 1, 2, 3, and the lower row buttons are 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You set the big wheel to 50. When I go to do the test, we push the W button. Okay, we got to put the tube in. Double check the voltage. Yep. And put the tube. There we go. I think I saw this tube light up in the radios. Oh, then we turn the unit on. That's a little better. So the meter right off the bat is just indicating the line voltage. It should be straight up. There's a line voltage adjustment here. But that's fine. Okay, tube is lighting up. Okay, next thing to do is the short test at watching this light. Flashing is good. Staying on would be bad. Passes the test. So now to test this tube, we push button W. There we go. Okay, so the meter barely moved upscale, but that indicates this tube is functioning, and it's not going to be responsible for a dead radio. The very worst this would do, I think, is just make the output low. I think. Okay, we'll go on to the next tube here. Okay, next tube is a 6SQ7. I did manage to find an excellent service manual for this radio, and I'm double checking to make sure the tubes are correct, which they are so far. 6SQ7, 6.3 volts. Pop up the buttons. A234, A234, AC18, AC18, 50, same place. So this tube has, this is a triode with two diodes in it. Okay, in you go. Okay, you can see it lighting up. Okay, I'll check for shorts. None. The test is WX. I push the W and the X button together. Again, not way up into good, but certainly a functioning tube. Now, next test, we pop the bottom row. This is how they designed this tube tester. Pump in a 5 and run the test, which put this up to 80. Run the test with an X. Good. And we pop it. And then type 6 or push 6. Do the same thing. X. So this tube is not going to be responsible for a silent radio. That's for sure. I've been dusting out the radio while I have the tubes out. Okay. Let's try this one next here. SK7. Pretty sure that's got to be what it's supposed to be. It should be up in this position, 6SK7. Okay. 6SK7. I like this tube tester because it's so fast. Okay, pop the buttons. 6.3 A1246. A1246. And second row is A358. A358. 15 on the big wheel. And we're ready. That's about the fastest tube tester I've got. I got a couple tube testers that setting up the tested tube is actually quite involved and takes a fair bit of time. This is a really fast tube tester. Okay, checking for shorts. Done. Running the test. W and Y. She's good. We really are looking for a dead tube in this affair, or one that's very, very weak. That's what I would. If a tube is causing this problem, the tube is going to be really weak. This one is a 6SA7, and that's what's supposed to be there. Yeah, I don't expect these tubes to be wrong, but I have had a radio in here, the wrong tubes in it. I've had a radio in here with the right tubes in the wrong place. So it can happen. 6SA7, let's just keep going. Keep going. 6S. A6S. This way. 6SA7. 6.3. A12678. A12678. The lower row, AC345. AC345. 35 on the big wheel, and in we go. Just give it a moment to warm up here. Hey, I can talk about the weather. The weather here is ugh. So I woke up this morning, it was -4 outside, it's still -2 out. There's ice on the ground where there were puddles of water. Cats are going out for 3 and 4 minutes at a time, then coming in looking very disturbed. They know what's coming. And we have freezing rain warnings for this evening with some ice accumulation. Okay, here we go. Now the test, this tube, 6SA, this has got one test here. It has 2 tests, but this is the first test. WY. She's a winner. Okay, next test, we're changing all the numbers, so I'm going to pull this out. 128 and A56 30. Okay, we'll repeat the short test. Good. V. Still up in the good. So again, this is not going to stop the radio from operating. We've only got one tube left. Oh boy. The tube that's left, you see how it's right between the two IF transformer cans here. This is going to be the IF amplifier tube, probably a 6K7. Look at the schematic here. 6K7. 6SK7. Okay. If this tube, well, if any of these tubes are shot, the radio won't work. This one's job is to amplify the signal. This is the main amplifier. Not the only one, but this is the main one. Looks pretty new, except for the top. 6SK7. I should have done this when I did the other 6SK7, but didn't think of it at the time. Okay, back to 6SK7. Okay, A1246. No, that's not right. 6SK7. I don't remember that number. Huh. A1, 2, 4, and 6. Well, why is it this isn't ringing a bell? A358. 358. I don't know. Why was it not? Isn't it not two 6SK7s? Why? No, I won't worry about it. Probably just my memory or something. Okay, in you go. Okay, and we'll do the short test. My guess is this tube is working based on the flashing light of the shorts test, W and Y. And look at that, it gives us the best result of all the tubes. So the radio does not work, it's not because of a tube. Even a combination of weak tubes wouldn't make this thing this weak. So it's something else. What else could it be? Oh, I got one more tube to test. Damn, come on. Great big rectifier tube. Look at this thing. Great big honker here. Wow. 5Y4. Okay, so this tube, if this is not working, it can certainly quiet the radio. There won't be any high voltage in the radio to operate the other tubes. And the I'm making sure I don't rub off the label, by the way, while I'm doing this. I think a cleaner tube is going to run a little cooler. That's why it's actually technically valuable to clean the tube up a little bit, I think. Okay, 5Y4. Let's do this guy. 5Y4. Okay, looking for 5Y4, 5V4, 5XY, there, 5Y4 there. 5 volts. We're up. 2, 3, don't need many buttons pushed for this, and a 4. 2, 3, and a 4, 20 on here. W is the test. Well, certainly is lighting up. Okay, looking for shorts. No shorts found. 5Y4 W. Ooh. It's going down too. It was going down, now it's coming up. This must still be warming up. It's going down. Let's test this in another tube tester. I happen to have one handy right here. Let me show you. Okay, let me get the next tube tester. Oh, there it is right there. We're going to try the same tube in this tube tester. This is a higher quality tube tester. Unfortunately, it's very hard on camera to see that, but I'll make it visible in a minute. So we want to do the same tube. Now, right here, 5Y4. Okay, 5 volts. It's a rectifier, so we don't set the bias. We do the numbers. 5Y4. 0030P. 0030P. 0760. 0760. 25 on here. And the plate is E. We should see a short on test setting 1 when we do the shorts. And we have two plates, so we have to throw the plate switch, P1, P2 switch. Test one side, then the other. This one does them separately. Okay, 5 volts, tube in. Check the line voltage. These can draw a fair bit of current. So see we're low on the line, just a little bit. There we go. That's in case you want to make, oh, you can't see that. That's right, I was going to fix the lighting here. Okay, let's try this. We get rid of most of the lighting. Believe it or not, that will work good for the camera. Okay, so do the line test again. You see, it just comes up to the middle. Okay, tube's warmed up. Short test. Watching the meter in this one. There we are. That's test 1. It goes right over. That's just perfectly fine. Now to test this, we are throwing the rectifier and diode switch with P1 in place. So in this tube tester, there's a section here called rectifiers OK. As long as you get above this little indicator right where my finger is, you're good. That's what that is. That's showing you good. And good here too. So on this tube tester, this tube appears to be just fine. On the other tube tester, it appeared to be a little low. I think it's just fine. That's right, you got to watch out. You have 2 or 3 tube testers, you get 2 or 3 different results. You shouldn't, but really, you know, for my use on a tube tester, it's really, is this tube working or is it not? It's not really a question of what exactly is its transconductance or something like that. We're going to run this radio again. I'm going to poke around a bit with it. Possibilities are these wires were not in the right place. I've just mimicked the way they were. I think, if I remember, these are correct. Maybe one of these push buttons needs to be pushed. Maybe we can get some audio sound coming through this. Isn't there a, yeah, there's a phono input up here. Maybe we can fool around with the phono input a little bit. And just do a few things. First, I gotta turn the lights back on here. I'm in the dark. There we go. We'll fool around a little more with it and see if we can't get a feel for what's up. I can't tip the radio up and poke around underneath. without a big hassle. So we won't do that. What all can we do from up here though? Not an awful lot. It's not an awful lot, but we will fool around some. Okay. Oh, dim bulbs. So this thing's drawing a fair bit of current, dropping a fair bit of voltage on the dim bulbs. So what I've done to compensate is I turned up the supply voltage way up. So the voltage drop here will bring us back down into a reasonable range. 95 volts right now. That's reasonable. That's coming out of the speaker. Okay, that's good. Never gets any louder. Figure this was tone, this was band, and one setting maybe for phono, but that didn't make sense. It did not make sense. Well, I have the manual, so I could look this stuff up. I'm going to push some buttons up here. I think what's going on here is you have the four bands on the front, and then one setting to turn on these push buttons. And I think the push buttons are on now. Let's turn this up. Turn that up. Hear anything at all? Do you hear even a clicky sound? Oh, no buttons pushed. Yeah, just as dead as a doornail here. I'm not expecting anything. Why am I using this? Just because. There's no good reason for it. This is the antenna lead to an antenna that's switched off. It's just a piece of metal. Well, we can't get any sound out of it at all. The next step would be to inject some sound up here. I can even inject a hum just with myself. So you can see quite clearly the connections. I can put my finger on here. Now, how do we know if this is turned on? We don't. We don't. I'm assuming it's this. And it's all the way one way. No, not this. This is tone. This one. Okay, I think when it's set this way, see, we should hear lots of noise from that. Volume's up right full. Nothing whatsoever. Not even a hint. So I think that suggests that there's trouble in the audio circuits. Because I'm really not hearing anything at all. Okay, I'm going to stop for a bit. It's coffee time. It's way past coffee time. Then I'm going to try to rearrange this radio so I can operate it here on my bench and get at the parts underneath. And do it. Good. Okay. Pretty quiet here. So all these KL radios, and I think another version is a AA 25 or A25, I can't remember now. They all have these fantastic schematics. I swear they're all drawn by the same person. They are fantastic. So we don't want to study this whole thing. Right now I'm interested in what's going on in the power supply here. So we're going to zoom in on that. I suspect there's no high voltage in the radio or in parts of the radio. And without high voltage, the tubes cannot do their thing, and you get a dead radio. So we would want to check for the voltage coming out of this power supply here, and we should be able to find it on the top of these filter capacitors, either side of the field speaker. So we should find something like, I'm going to take a guess, 300 volts here and 275 here. That's my guess offhand. These are easy spots to find in the radio, so let's go find them and we'll test them. Okay, so I'm going to take the measurement on this meter here using this probe, and we need to find the capacitor. That's pretty easy. We just look up here. You see this silver tube here, that's going to be the filter capacitor right in the middle of the radio here. So I have this set to 500 volts full scale. Expecting to go halfway. Okay, here's the capacitor terminals. 3 of them down here. One's probably a ground. This one's got red wires on it. Hey. Nothing whatsoever. The other one? The meter's not moving at all. Not in the least. Jim, you know, it helps when the radio's turned on though. How many times have I done this? Okay, volume down. Power on. Okay. This might work a little better now. I'm still running the radio with reduced power. Actually, there it goes. Tubes are starting to conduct. We're on 90 volts. We hear nothing. This time, let's take a look. What's on the red wires? Oh. There we go. Now we got something. 200 volts. And on this one, 250 volts. And on this one, a very small voltage. This will be the bias voltage on the output tube. Let's just take a look at what that might be. I'm on the 15 volt scale. About 12 volts, that sounds perfectly fine. Now we don't know about the grid. We know there's voltage in the power supply. We don't know how far it's making it into the radio. So to determine that, we will pick on the output tube. Where are you? Here it is down here. And we will look at each of these terminals and see if there aren't, we should find, I think 1, maybe 2 with high voltage on it. Start here. Oh, there we are already. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that's a huge voltage. That's almost 400 volts. 400 volts. Where do you get 400 volts from? The power supply is only producing... Jeff, you changed the scale for crying out loud. Okay. I'll go back to this. Well, now we see what it really is. Wow, we don't know what that is. We don't know what this is. We're looking for something to make the meter go halfway up again. There's one. Okay, just under 200. There's another one just a little higher. Well, it's probably plate and screen there. I'm waiting to hear some sound. There it is. That's probably the grid. Okay, so we've got the grid. We found the grid. Now, we're going to look at the grid voltage here. Grid voltage relative to the chassis in a radio like this is often just 0. There's something funny going on. You see my meter bouncing up and down? That sometimes indicates an AC voltage. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a peek at the schematic here, just see what pin I'm on. Maybe I'm doing something rather dumb here. The pins are good. Pins are shown pictorially on the schematic. I can just look over here. And if I want to check the plate voltage, I'd be looking at pin number 3. Pin number 3. Let's just be sure here. So, Okay, 1, 2. Sure enough, this is the plate. This is the plate when measured on the wrong scale. That's a plate. Now, next one over is the screen grid, which is slightly lower voltage. That's a little higher, isn't it? Slightly higher voltage. Okay, it might just be due to plate current. I'm not sure how to figure that one out. Next pin over is the grid. The next pin over is the grid. That's this. Well, that's not what I thought was the grid. I thought this was the grid. So this one has a so this grid should just be reading 0 volts. 0. This other pin is probably a heater. It's probably what I was on. See a very, very tiny movement in the needle. You probably can't see it on the camera. Can you hear it? I heard my meter smash over there. I would expect a pretty loud hum to come out of this radio when you hit the grid of the output tube. It's just a very, very faint hum. I don't think you could hear it. Ah, come on, Jim. Well, let's back up. We'll back up to the volume control and the tube that's amplifying the signal coming out of the volume control. We'll fiddle around with that. So here's the volume control. Unfortunately, the wires are all kind of hidden in behind there. Okay, so I see the center terminal of the volume control through a capacitor coming to here. I'm turning the volume down. The meter was going all over the place over there. So we're getting a pretty big negative voltage here. So on the 1.5 scale, this is about half a volt here. Half a volt, and it's negative. But no sound coming out. High voltage on this tube, which won't be quite so high. Look at that, he remembered to move this control. So positive, 150 volt full scale, looking for the plate of the detector tube. Without. That's the tone. Maybe the tone is on the plate, isn't it? Wasn't the tone control on the plate? My meter not going up. Didn't go up at any point. Okay, let's do this more carefully. So it looks like there's no voltage on the detector tube. So I'm just looking at the schematic here to see where the plate on the detector tube is, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pin number 6 of the detector tube is the plate. Pin number 6. Pin number 6. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6. No voltage. And there's the tone capacitor. No plate voltage. Okay. So my time has run out here. No plate voltage on that tube. That's where we're going to leave it for today. We'll try to figure out, well, why would there be no plate voltage? And even if there isn't any plate voltage. Why no action when I touch the grid of this tube? It's possible that the signal I was injecting, just the noise from my wire and whatnot, is just not that much compared to what that tube is really looking for on its grid in terms of a signal strength. So maybe that's working fine, and really the problem is the tube just before it, the 6SQ7, I think it is. Okay, well, we'll find out. I want to get the radio working to some reasonable degree before I start really working on it, changing stuff. That's the idea. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.